this week's drive, we light it up in Spain and Italy. Thunder through the desert. And whisper along in Japan. So come along for the drive. We start this week's action with a 24-hour kart race in Dubai. Teams expected to fly around the 1.2-kilometre long track more than 1,400 times in the day and night of racing. But with day temperatures going over 35 degrees, it was going to be a long, hard race. The Mini team, number 25, took an early lead. The team included UAE karting champion Christophe Hizet, who drove the first stint, and Britain's John Kelly and Stephen White. Right from the start, the action was close, sometimes too close, as drivers found that 3 abreast through the chicane would end in tears. Despite flipping his kart upside down and losing a wheel, Scott Weaver of the Halliburton team wasn't badly hurt. Here's team captain Andy Stevens explained what happened.
Just caught a tire with flying and just flipped him up on his back and landed the whole cart on top of him on these tires. And the cart spun over here and broke off the front left tire. But we're thankful he's all right. He's laughing about it. He was saying he's mad because he was having such a good time out there. I'd be surprised if he's not back a little bit later.
The incident brought out the safety car. And in keeping with the scale of the track, what else but a Mini? The fastest lap fell to the FedEx team, who took the lead at around sunset, but they lost the top 3 placing with brake problems. During the night, the Meridian Just Call Me team took 2nd place. British touring car champion Jason Plato drove several laps as a guest driver in one of the lower placed teams, but failed to match the season karting regulars. Banias, one of the pre-race favourite teams, fielded an all-star side, including single-seater racer Danny Watts, MG Le Mans driver Kevin McGarrity, and karters Mark Fell and Rick Parfitt, also to no great advantage. The Unstoppables team, driving kart number 8, also used the night hours to move up, taking 3rd place under the floodlights. Further back, the all-female team of Penelope Pitstop made it up as high as 5th place at one point. The team, consisting of Natalie Brown, Moira McFarlane, Tracy McLean, Deborah Gordon and Fiona Swaffield, were easily seen in their all-pink colours. The reigning champions, Team Pirelli, were forced to pit with mechanical problems, but the number 1 kart was quickly put right and rejoined the race. The pressure's on because the winner of the Middle East Series gains automatic entry to the Pro Kart World Championship in Bavaria and Germany in September. Once the sun had risen again, teams began counting down towards the 4:15 p.m. finish as Team Mini extended their lead. Having done just over 1,000 laps, the leaders made a routine driver change and oiled the chain, without the kart even stopping. Team Unstoppables driver Sean Murphy had to bring the team's kart into the pits unexpectedly when a steering arm worked loose. He rejoined the race, but the team's challenge looked in jeopardy. The high-speed Creekside circuit accounted for several damaged karts, several full-course yellow flags and 2 accidents involving Scott Weaver and the front-running Pirelli's British star racer Lee Hollywood. Weaver wasn't hurt, but Hollywood was briefly hospitalised with a knee injury. With an hour to go and a comfortable lead, it was looking good for the Mini-backed squad when suddenly one of the twin Honda engines faltered and the kart was forced into the pits for an unscheduled stop. Slick Pitwork saw the overworked engine replaced and the team back out on the track with their lead down to a slender margin. Ahmad Masri was at the wheel when the checkered flag fell, taking the win for the Mini team, despite the drama of the last hour. By keeping up the pace, the team covered 1,418 laps at an average speed of 70 kilometres an hour, 4 more laps than the 2nd-placed Unstoppables, with Meridian Just Call Me a further 6 laps adrift. The girls of Penelope Pitstop ended up 8th. We pick up the pace a bit now and travel to Spain for the World Championship Rally of Catalunya, the 4th round of the 2002 title chase. The Catalan Rally is another tarmac event, like the third round, the Rally of Corsica. In Corsica, it was tarmac specialist Gilles Panizzi who scored the win for Peugeot. And he was looking good for back-to-back wins, taking the first 6 special stages at a canter. His world champion teammate Richard Burns had to accept second place as the flamboyant Frenchman swept all before him. For another Frenchman, in another French car, things weren't going nearly as well. Sébastien Loeb rolled his Citroën right off the course. Loeb got going again with the help of spectators, but the car was mortally damaged. Richard Burns quickly rounded him up and swept past, giving him a tap on the way. Eventually, the sad-looking Citroën expired completely and was abandoned by its crew. Watch as Loeb's teammate Philippe Rogalski drifts through this hairpin in textbook style, showing the spectacular sideways action that rallygoers go to great lengths to see. This corner was to be a favourite with the thousands of spectators who packed every vantage point. Spectators' cars parked at the roadside elsewhere were also to cause the retirement of Spanish former world champ Carlos Sainz. Panizzi arrived at the same hairpin all crossed up, but resolved the small mistake with a spectacular, crowd-pleasing 360-degree donut. Later, he denied that he overdone it.
Yeah, no problem for that. No problem, because it's easy to drive well and control the rally. And I don't take anything risk, and I must to drive well. Only that, drive well.
Whatever his antics, Panizzi was in complete control at the front of the event, reveling in the clean, dry conditions. World champ Burns played it safe and came home second to his teammate for 6 championship points, and was content with the team's 1-2 result, earning 16 points for Peugeot.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, not just for me, but obviously for the team as well. They got another first and second place. Gilles has driven fantastic rally again, but to be this close to finish second, and well, I'm happy, obviously.
Rogalski made it a French manufacturer's clean sweep, taking out third place for Citroën, finishing 1 minute and 13 seconds off the pace. Former champ Colin McRae finished 6th for Ford. Look how low co-driver Nicky Grist sits in an effort to lower the car's centre of gravity. But up front, 36-year-old Panizzi eased through the final 6 stages to finish 37.3 seconds ahead. The World Rally Championship leaves the tarmac for the rest of the season, ending the advantage of the tarmac specialists and getting back to normal: mud, dust and gravel. The next few events on the calendar promise much closer competition. Panizzi's triumph helped Peugeot claim maximum manufacturers' points for the 3rd consecutive round, as the reigning team champions aim to retain their title.
Yes, fantastic. I am very happy because I never win here, and for me it's fantastic to win in Spain, and this rally is fantastic, and with Peugeot it's magic this year.
Series leader Marcus Gronholm of Finland was 4th for Peugeot and retains his title lead, just 1 point ahead of double winner Panizzi. Off to Yokohama in Japan now, where a university development team is showing off an electric limousine which they claim defeats the usual drawbacks of such vehicles: speed and endurance. The car is called the Kaz. It's 6.7 meters long, has 8 wheels and a claimed 435 kilowatts. The prototype was developed at Kei University, and the Boffins drove journalists around a Yokohama test track to back up their contention that the car has overcome the main objections to electrified vehicles. 2 of them had this to say: "The acceleration was just wonderful. It was very quiet at first, and then it went really fast." Electric cars have a number of advantages over petrol-driven models. They do not produce polluting exhaust fumes and immediately produce power when switched on, so they are perfect for stop-start city driving conditions. Traditionally, their engine cells were heavy, expensive to make, and took up most of a vehicle's luggage space. Electric cars have usually proved heavy and slow or incapable of carrying much more than 2 people. The researchers claim CAZ has reached 311 kilometers an hour and needs just an hour at a specialized power outlet to charge up its power unit. 4 hours charge are needed from an ordinary domestic power point, and the teams say that CAZ will run for at least 300 kilometers between charges. If you ask me if I think our aim in developing a car along the principles of electric power, then yes, I think we did well. However, the next thing we have to do is improve the car's endurability and credibility. We have to work on developing its collision safety measures and also to see if it can last for 10 years while traveling 300,000 kilometers. And finally, we need to see how to bring down its manufacturing costs. The CAZ project has taken over 3 years and cost over 300 million yen, or $2.5 million, to build. However, the team hoped to bring the cost of the CAZ down to at least the price of a Rolls-Royce, about 20 million yen or $162,000 in Japan, when they bring the car onto the market in 2005. And perhaps they can make it prettier too. Equally expensive, much more attractive, and at the opposite end of the spectrum is the new Bentley Arnage T. UK manufacturer Bentley has unveiled what is being called the fastest saloon car in the world, capable of 168 very English miles an hour. That's about 270 kilometers now. The Arnage T is the result of a 3-year project to re-engineer the Arnage saloon. It is the most powerful car in Bentley's 83-year history and maintains Bentley's very English hallmarks of luxury and refinement.
Bentley is famed for producing high power, very high torque engines, and with the twin turbos on this car, the 450 brake horsepower of power and the 875 newton meters of torque, it takes that to new levels. So high power, very high torque engines, and we believe, yes, it takes it to a new benchmark level for Bentley.
The new model uses a development of the 6.75-litre V8 that has been in use for over 30 years. In the old days, Bentleys were almost completely handmade. Nowadays, modern methods of machinery have been combined with more traditional skills. Bentley was bought by Rolls-Royce in the early 1930s, and for many years Bentleys were just more sporting versions of the current Rolls-Royce model. But in the late 1990s, the two companies were split again. BMW took over Rolls-Royce, and the Volkswagen Group ended up with Bentley. Alistair Stewart, company vice president, believes the car will sell itself.
I hope they're wowed when they sit in this car and when they feel the power and performance that comes through the car. I'm sure that'll convince them to write the check.
Bentleys have traditionally been big cars. Ettore Bugatti once described the cars of the 20s as the fastest lorries in the world. The new car keeps up the tradition. It weighs over 2.5 tons, is 5.4 meters long and nearly 2 meters wide. Even the badge has been redesigned. Dating back to 1911, the latest rendering harks back to the emblem used in the 1930s. Think of motorsport and chances are you'll think of Ferrari pretty well straight away. Every year, the Italian manufacturer puts on a day for customers and admirers to satisfy their need for speed at the famous Monza track just outside Milan. Not surprisingly, there are many more admirers than customers, but a couple of races for modified production cars are well supported and much appreciated. Ferrari are the only team to have been racing in Formula One continuously, and until this year were the only team to make their own cars completely. Other teams bought in engines for their own chassis. The reputation of the Prancing Horse team is built on Formula One, and the factory trotted out many of its races from the very early days to last year's championship-winning car, which Michael Schumacher used to score 2 wins and a second place in the first 3 races this year. Tens of thousands of Ferrari fans, known collectively as tifosi, enjoyed the sights and sounds of cars built in the eras of drivers like Alberto Ascari, Nigel Mansell and Gilles Villeneuve, late father of present-day racer Jacques. Many fans had come for the chance of seeing Ferrari's man of the moment, German ace Michael Schumacher. Michael, with his Brazilian teammate Rubens Barrichello, has lifted Ferrari back to world champion status, winning the title in 2000 and 2001 after an interval of more than 20 years. Ferrari's last world champion was South African Jody Scheckter back in 1979. Michael and Rubens did a slower lap of the famous track in open-topped cars. Schumacher had his team manager Jean Todt as a passenger, and he couldn't resist giving the chubby Frenchman a bit of an adrenaline rush. Todt has been the architect of Ferrari's recent Formula One success, doing much to make sure that Michael and Rubens have the tools to do the job. The team put on a few demonstrations so that fans who might not normally be able to attend a Grand Prix could appreciate the sights, and especially the sounds, of a modern Formula One car. Sooner or later, every single Ferrari employee has the chance of being part of the Formula One team. A couple of minor roles are offered to factory production line workers at each Grand Prix. Michael has won more Grand Prix races than anyone else, driven in more Formula One races than any other Ferrari driver, and is just one of 3 men to win the World Championship 4 times. The others are Alain Prost and the late Juan Manuel Fangio, who won 5 titles in the 1950s. Can the Red Baron match the great Argentinian? You'd have to think so. Back to Dubai now for an event which attracted more than 230 entrants from all over the Gulf region, Europe and beyond. The warm, sunny weather and fantastic roads of the UAE were promoted as just 2 reasons why Harley-Davidson riders would want to attend the 3rd Middle Eastern Harley-Davidson Rally. Dubai, with its luxury hotels and great beaches, hosted the event for the first time to coincide with the Dubai Shopping Festival. The event was originally set for October last year, but was postponed after the events of September the 11th. Escorted by police, who don't ride Harleys, the group headed out of town to a beachfront resort after a long ride through the desert. Harley-Davidson is America's only remaining volume motorcycle manufacturer and celebrates 100 years of making motorbikes next year. It misses being the world's oldest by a single year to Britain's triumph, although the famous English brand did have a 20-year break in production. Harley have produced large capacity but mechanically simple 2-cylinder engines since before the First World War, and they still do. In the past, they've built single-cylinder engines and even briefly took over Italy's Aermacchi factory and badged some small 2-strokes as Harleys, much to the disgust of some of their customers. The factory recently patented the unique exhaust note of their bikes, as many other factories have started copying the styling and mechanical layout of the iconic marque. Although they're probably among the world's most expensive mass-produced motorcycles, Harleys are seldom ever found in the exact condition that they left the factory in Milwaukee. Owners will often spend the value of the bike again in custom accessories and parts in the pursuit of individuality. Of course, this sometimes means that the very expensive result looks quite similar to someone else's heavily modified motorcycle. Harley owners are often pretty well heeled and wealthy enough to spend quite a bit on their favourite toy. With bike prices starting at $15,000, most of the participants at the Harley Owners Group or HOG event are business people or executives whose idea of fun is to zoom down highways with the wind in their hair. Harleys, more than any other type of bike, may be regarded as a mobile art form, and while the art might sometimes seem a bit sinister, it's more about making an impact. Harleys are heavyweight bikes, and so are some of the riders. Every convenience and a number plate to match the lifestyle. Live to ride. Organizer Yedzi Karay talks about the event.
If you look at it from a general tourism business point of view, is that we have the winter season in Europe. This is not a riding season in Europe. So the inducement to come out from Europe and ride in Dubai is great. And the second thing is we've linked it or sort of tried to kind of synchronize it with the Dubai Shopping Festival. That gives people an extra inducement to come out and enjoy the DSF.
Sometimes the artwork, which appears on these rolling easels, is a bit quirky, unusual, and has only personal significance. And like the artwork, the styling of the accessories fitted is often highly individual. Local bike shop owner Mara Murad gets to many events.
We've been around the world to attend some of these bike activities, and I have to say that we have a lot better weather and better roads, you know, to be participating in bike events, definitely.
The exotic hotels of Dubai and the thunder of hundreds of motorcycles might have some competition soon. The Emirates has indicated it will build a 5-kilometre Grand Prix racetrack, complete with hotels and a convention centre, and it'll be finished by the middle of next year. But for HOG members, Dubai has been the best Middle East rally yet. Of all the vehicles that people might choose to race, the humble Reliant Robin is probably the least likely. But at the 9th Reliant Robin Grand Prix, 25 drivers qualified for the grid. Safety is one of the main reasons that Grand Prix motorcars have 4 wheels as opposed to 3. 3-wheeled vehicles tend to not corner very well, and Robins have only 3 wheels, so the cars are made to roll over and carry on. Compared to a Formula 1 pit stop, Robin racing is a little more rudimentary. The last Reliant 3-wheeler was built at the beginning of last year, ending 65 years of production. In total, about 300,000 3-wheelers were built, but the factory also made about 14,000 versions of the Scimitar sports car over about 20 years. The dwindling numbers of the little cars has had no impact on the drivers who like to bash them up.
People enjoy seeing them out there racing because of the fun of it. I mean, it's not very often like where you see a car going to the corner and they roll over all the time, so I don't think there'd be too many people getting upset with us.
I don't know, really. It's the luck on the day, really. Anything could happen when you're out there.
For a race where the cars are expected to fall apart, scrutineering can't be too hard. That's a very wide checkered flag. Out on the dirt oval, speeds might not be high, but the competition knows no bounds. Reliant Robins aren't exactly proper cars. They're made of fiberglass and the engines are between 750 and 850 cc. The Robin is often misunderstood as a car that old-age pensioners drive, but when it comes to racing them, it's a young man's game. Once on its side, a strong driver can often flip the car back onto its wheels by simply rocking in his seat. Eventually, victory went to Darren Ahern, who managed to hold off Steve Odell with some clever tactics and robust driving. Ahern was asked if he had a race strategy.
No, I just wanted to win. That was really, I came here. It's a laugh, but I worked hard on the car, got it all ready and up together, and it's paid off, so basically it really.
Reliant Robin Racing, a reflection of the British sense of humour and a willingness to have fun with their icons. Well, that's all for this week's drive, but next week we'll look at more 2- and 4-wheeled news and action and take a drive in a baby Mercedes. So make sure you come along for The Drive.